looking at our master lists, I think it is human nature to look at our bare, unpopulated S tier and see tragedy. But I'm here to tell you, folks, what I see is opportunity. What I see is science being done properly. We had 3 very, very close calls last album. And this just illustrates why this project takes 3 dedicated people to do the job. Because if it was only Dan and Buttface doing this project on my YouTube channel for whatever reason, they would have placed Dare to Be Stupid in the S tier.
Where it belongs.
Even though the song has demonstrably stupid lyrics. Dan, if it was just you and me, and we did not have Buttface's youthful and Canadian insight helping us out, we would have placed Yoda in the S tier, even though it only possesses 65% of the requisite guitar sizzle. Buttface, if it was just you and me, and we didn't have Dan, we would have placed Jazz Spectacular, This Is the Life into S tier.
We were gonna try.
To be clear, I'm still not fuzzy on Dan's reasoning on that, but I'm sure it's good. Because Dan is a gentleman and a scholar, and we value his input. We would have looked like jerks putting songs in the S tier that didn't belong there. But tonight, we're listening to what I have just come to learn is often considered Weird Al's worst album. I don't know why it's considered that, because I love this album.
It's only got 10 songs. That's why it's his worst. It just doesn't have enough Weird or enough Al in it.
Is that it? It's just quality over quantity?
I think there's some interesting things that we can say about whether or not this truly is Weird Al's worst album.
So Polka Party is one of my childhood albums, and I've heard it 1,000 times, and I love it a lot. And I think I'm going to change your mind. You guys are going to be Polka Party believers before we're done tonight.
We'll see about that.
Dan, I am in desperate need of some hastily made history for Polka Party.
Believe it or not, the history this week is not so hasty, because I actually kind of delved into this one, because the burning question that we all had, is this Weird Al's worst album? It kind of gnawed at me. I'm like, could Weird Al make bad music? I say the answer is no, but critics and other people thought yes. Polka Party came out in October 21st, 1986. It was recorded at the Santa Monica Sound Recorders. From April to September 1986, Weird Al actually recorded original material before the parodies, interestingly enough. It was engineered and mastered by Tony Papa, assisted by Jamie Dell. It didn't chart as high as Weird Al in 3D, and it didn't go gold or platinum either. The Anchor parody, Living with a Hernia, failed to chart on the singles charts. It was Grammy nominated in 1987, but lost to Bill Cosby. Critical reaction was mixed. People wanted another Eat It or Like a Surgeon, and they didn't get it, and they didn't know what to do, what was on the rest of the album. The returning personnel, we have Weird Al. A new instrument he's doing on this album is the glockenspiel.
I'm going to be honest, I don't even know what that is.
I believe you hit it with a mallet?
Yes, it is a percussive instrument that makes a bell-like sound. Jim West, Steve J, and John Bermuda Schwartz return as part of Weird Al's band. Pat Regan returns to play synths and keyboards. Rick Derringer producing it on some guitars. Warren Luring on trumpet. Joel Peskin on clarinet. Tommy Johnson back on tuba. Bill Anderson returns on tenor sax. Gary Herbig is on baritone sax. The Waters Sisters and Lisa Popeil return for backing vocals, and Sonny Burke returns for piano. As far as new personnel is concerned, we have James Cox on the guitar synthesizer, which he's using to create a pedal steel guitar sound on his keyboard, basically. And also we have Dennis, I apologize if I mispronounce his name. It's either Dennis Fetchit or Fetche. He's not on anything you've ever heard of, but he was the fiddler for country musician Hoyt Axton. As far as album art goes, it was directed once again by Donald Lade Agency. Cover photography by Dennis Keeley, returning for that. So what do you guys think about Polka Party's album art? Looks like a real party, huh? I want a polka to it.
If you tell one of these like newfangled art AI protocols, generate Weird Al album art, this is what it gives you.
Actually, no, I think AI would generate Dare to Be Stupid.
No. If you told it to generate terrible album art, it would... Because AI doesn't understand toothbrushes, Dan. No, I love the album art a lot. He's decidedly not at a polka party, right?
He's at a punk party that he brought his accordion to.
And he showed up wearing lederhosen with his accordion, and everybody's just chill with it.
I mean, I think that says a lot about the punks that they're willing to accept people who are different and strange from them. You know, I mean, here's Al just crashing their party and they're like, whoa, groovy sound, man.
I don't know that he crashed the place. How do you know he wasn't invited?
Again, this album art doesn't really speak to me for what is on this album. It doesn't heavily feature accordion so much as the other albums have, and he's not really got to the grunge era of Weird Al, which is a weird sentence I didn't think I would ever have to say, but it's true. This doesn't scream to me like 80s punk party.
This album, if we think about it, is about Al and the 80s. This is probably the most 80s album Al has ever done. And if we imagine this whole group here as the zeitgeist of the 80s, it's Weird Al in the 80s party saying, hey, look at all this punk and new wave and whatever. You can still accordion. You can still have a good time at a polka party.
Like, is the message here Al saying, I'm railing against what the 80s was. Everybody thought the 80s was punk and synthesizers, or is he saying, I'm here, I'm also the 80s?
Yes. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think this is more and me too in here. Like, I'm also an 80s staple. And
yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that is necessarily a good position to stake your claim on with this particular album.
I think it's the only position you can take if you're a musical parody artist. Like your whole career kind of has to bank on being an also here.
Yeah, but I would say that there are previous albums and songs that feel timeless, where this album does not.
I would agree with that.
Look how happy he is.
Is this the happiest he's ever been on an album cover?
I think this is the happiest he ever is on an album cover.
In Dare to Be Stupid, he looks pretty happy.
No, he looked menacing.
Oh, no, wait, nope, that was his left nostril.
Because he's got a boogie.
Yeah, I like this artwork a lot. But again, I owned the CD, so I played it 1,000 times. As mentioned, we have nothing in the S tier. We're going to place half of this album in S tier tonight, so it's great. The song to beat is going to be Eat It or Yoda. Currently live at the top. And I want to encourage everybody to go to Al Yankovic's official YouTube channel, look up his Polka Party playlist, listen along with us, because we cannot legally play you the whole song.
This continues the trend of starting a Weird Al album with Al doing a weird voice as an impression for his song. And I still think that's a bad trend. I don't appreciate not just having a straight up Weird Al singing to open up. I also think that this song is kind of a harbinger of things to come on this album, in that this feels incredibly 80s. Now, I know that James Brown has this incredibly prolific career and has done many different stages throughout it, but this is like squarely in his Godfathers of Soul styling. At least it isn't about boogers.
How dare this album that come out in 1986 sound like it's from the 80s?
Look, I'm just saying it is the most dated sounding it has ever been.
Okay, Zoomer.
At least it's got a science lesson in it. Like, Al should do more songs with science lessons in them.
Buttface, would you believe that James Brown did not write that song?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because he didn't.
It was written for Rocky, wasn't it?
This was a Rocky song.
All right. So Al's just continuing his tradition of parodying the theme song from Rocky.
I did some research into this, and it turns out that Scotty Brothers, the label for Weird Al, was also the label for the Rocky IV soundtrack.
Nice.
And they really wanted Al to do a parody from one of their artists. So they said, But
they didn't specify which one, because they'd gone down that road before.
I mean, there's a lot of things you can say about this song. I don't think of them are particularly positive. I mean, it's okay. It's a pretty good riff on James Brown. I think it's actually shorter than the original song considerably, so it doesn't overstay its welcome like Living in America does.
This specific song and this album also mark the start of a trend that is going to continue forward, where we have a new reoccurring theme of bodily issues.
Yes, this is the first, Got a Boogie is a body issue song,
I also marked Got a Boogie as a bodily issue one, and I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to ignore the boogie.
This is not going to surprise you guys, but I'm going to be the dissenting voice once again. This is a really special song for me. I couldn't swear to this because I'm an old man now, but I think this may be the first music track I ever heard in my life that I recognized as a song parody.
Oh.
I had heard Alapalooza before this, but like at 10 years old, I was basically only exposed to music that my parents were listening to. They weren't listening to a lot of Chili Peppers, you heard? So the parodies on Alapalooza, they were funny and I liked them, but they didn't register with me. But even at that age, I knew James Brown. So a friend of mine, a kid who moved into our neighborhood, a character who will reappear in more stories going forward, owned a copy of Alapalooza, and that's how I was introduced to the man, the myth, the legend. And shortly after that, we got a copy of Polka Party. Now, I was like 10. He was a little bit older than I was. So, of course, I looked up to him. I didn't know what a hernia was.
No 10-year-old does.
But it's fine, because he did know. And he said, a hernia is what it's called when your dick breaks off.
Oh.
Now, listening to the song as an adult, I realize that the thread count on the microfiber cloths Al's band used to polish the brass instruments wasn't exactly the same as James Brown's band, and that makes the song Uncanny Valley unlistenable. But to my ear, this is an awesome parody. I think they got the feel and the energy of the original song perfect. I think he got the cadence of the lyrics perfect. I love how he uses the ow as like repurposes as howls of pain because he has a hernia.
Yeah.
He does an R2-D2 scream.
Yeah, Al sounds like a guy doing a James Brown impression. That's true. But I think that's as close as anybody can get to try to singing James Brown. Yeah, this is an S-tier song for me to open up the album. I think every good thing I could say about Eat It, I could also say about Living with a Hernia.
Unsurprisingly, I'm going to dissent, but not as much as you think, because I do agree that the music in this is actually real. It's a really solid James Brown riff. Like it's got the funk, and Weird Al is definitely channeling the funk in his vocal performance. If I may pull a Richard here, I don't like the lyrics. It's just, the other thing is that I will give them a lot of credit for the music video for the song, because it turns out that the set in the video was the same one that James Brown used in Rocky IV. Like we're right in the middle of MTV season, and Al, when he's picking and doing his parodies, he's thinking of stuff that, well, how can I make a video out of this? And I gotta say, if you didn't listen to this and you just watched the video, you're like, oh yeah, this is a lot funnier when you're seeing it with the visuals going along.
Watch the first 10 seconds of the video, Dan. Al opens up with, come on, dig, and it shows a man digging, and it cracks me up every single time.
I think my grade for this, I wrote down B-. It's really a B on the strength of the video, which honestly is an A-tier video, but for the song, I think it has to be in B tier.
See, I already marked mine as a B- to start with. I just don't think it's a strong foot forward.
2 B's and an S sounds like a real low A to me.
I won't argue with that.
I'm climbing up off the corporate ladder. Watch out, it's dog eat dog. Nothing against the grindstone, it feels alright.
I want to go on a limb here. When I was first listening to this album, I was like, this may be the song. This may be the one that finally gets us to come together.
I hope so.
And agree
I hope so, Dan.
on S tier, because Jesus Christ, this song, first things first, the sound, they nail the sound. I don't think this is more Talking Heads than Talking Heads, but this is like, I'm seeing double 4 Krusties kind of thing. I cannot tell the two apart.
This song did not need to have "This Is Not My Beautiful Stapler" in it for me to just immediately peg it as a Talking Heads song.
Although every time I listen to the original song, my ears are always listening for that line, and I get weirded out for a second when I don't hear it.
Like, Al is doing a fantastic David Byrne. He nails it. It's just the perfect voice, the perfect cadence. He gets everything right about it. It's mashing up multiple Talking Head styles. Here she was, once in a lifetime, burning down the house. All of that just poured into a blender, into a smoothie of fishy, heady goodness.
There's a little Psycho Killer in there too. Let's not forget.
There is. Yeah, there is a little bit of Psycho Killer in there too. The organ sound, the guitar sound. And honestly, I think this is a better execution of Baya Kondo's sort of criticism of corporate life, because Weird Al apparently did have an office job for a little while and he hated it. And with this song,
Who
it's like, yeah, I can
doesn't?
Hey, I work from home now. I'm happy.
Well, this song's not about a guy who hates his corporate life, though. It's about a guy who loves his corporate life.
This song is the progenitor to the My Stapler bit from Office Space, right?
It is.
Like, I'm gonna need some citation on that, but this has to be the first one of, this is not my beautiful stapler, where's my stapler?
Would you agree that the execution of Dog Eat Dog is improved by Al not doing a direct parody of Once in a Lifetime?
Yes.
Because that's a great song, but it's very repetitive. Like, there's not a lot to build on comedically.
I even think Al would have done other talking. Like, I think a Weird Al, like Burning Down the House, would have been a better choice for him if he did a direct parody. But here's the thing. You know how we've been criticizing some of the songs in the previous albums for going on too long and then sort of fading out? He doesn't do that with this, because Talking Head songs, number one, they do go on kind of a little long. And number two, they always end like definitively.
Here comes the twister. There it goes. There goes the twister.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't ever thought about that, but you're right.
I can't say that this is more Talking Heads than Talking Heads, but it is absolutely, like, if Weird Al said, I want to make a Talking Head song, I really want to know what David Byrne thinks about this song, because like Mark Mothersbaugh, it's like S tier. This has to be S.
No, I also have this as an S tier. This is fantastic.
In my original notes, because I was going to put this down as S tier, but then I was doing my notes, I was listening to it critically, and I'm like, I have to bump this down for A, because there's no way Buttface is going to put this in S tier, because he's doing a voice on track number 2, and that really cheeves his goats or whatever.
Here's the thing, though. This voice suits Al, much like Dare to Be Stupid's voice.
So
this
does
is
his
not
awesome James Brown impression, but you were all down on that.
It's not his register,
This
man.
sounds
It's
like
not
three
his...
S's for the first time.
This is the triple S.
And it happened on his worst album. I told you so. You're all believers.
I mean, you only sank Eat It because of the gag with the farts that was part of the gag of the song.
No, I sank Eat It because of the hand farts. Whether it was a gag or not was irrelevant. This song has no hand farts.
Brick sinking songs because he doesn't like the premise of the song is Brick's premise.
And
Yeah.
I love the premise of this song. I love the idea of this guy is just super happy to be like sneaking another jelly donut back to his stapler. Like, that's just tremendously funny. At the outset of this project, I would not have guessed that Dog Eat Dog would be the first S tier song placed.
I don't know. It's a strong song. It's been a favorite for many a year.
You know you're gonna have to face it, you're addicted to Spuds. Might as well face it, you're addicted to Spuds. Might as well face it, you're addicted.
I did have to look this up because I thought maybe I was going crazy, but Binging with Babish did do a Twinkie Wiener sandwich episode, but I think that they should also do a Addicted to Spuds episode and just knock all of the potato dishes out one video. That's all we need. It's kind of a shame that this song was not part of the Martian soundtrack. And that's basically all I have to say about this song. I don't know. I could take it or leave it. I could have sworn that Addicted to Love was part of one of the GTAs or the Saints Row games. A quick Google search is not turning that up. I just have this recollection of mayhem and destruction being set to Addicted to Love. This song it's fine. It's empty calories.
Are you
It's filler.
denying that this song has appeal?
It's this song is just kind of a side dish, you know? I guess what I'm trying to say here is I prefer pasta as a staple food.
The funniest part of this song to me, I mean, I like the whole song. It's really funny. I think Al found every funny turn of phrase involving potatoes. But the funniest part is how he spends the first 2 verses accusing you of eating too many potatoes. But then by verse 3, he's like, I'm also addicted to potatoes. And I'm like, you were singing about yourself the whole time, weren't you, Al? A little bit of potato projection going on.
Al is at a tuber support group.
I wrote kind of like I Want Rocky Road, but not as good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. It's acceptable. I mean, I can understand you wouldn't lead this album off with this as your anchor parody because it's not as good as Living with a Hernia, despite, I think, having better lyrics. The music isn't as good. I don't like the guitar sound on it at all. I mean, there's other bits like they get the synthesizer part right, and there's some real good backing vocals you can hear where they overdub Al in a little bit in some parts that I kind of like. And I do think the potato gags are funny gags. This just seems like a very routine Weird Al song.
It's the one mandatory food song on the album.
Yeah, and it feels mandatory, doesn't it?
So that's very subjective thing. Because again, this was a very early album for me, and this is another song that I recognized as a song parody. Because Addicted to Love was still getting a lot of radio play in the early 90s on certain
Yes, it
places.
was.
Oh, it's a good song. It's a classic.
So like to me, even though this is kind of a color in the numbers parody, like 5 albums into the canon here, to me, it's like an introduction to this whole new world of musical comedy. So like it's everybody's first song is going to be something, right?
Yeah.
So the routine songs are important.
Spam is better, though.
I mean, I have this as an A-tier song.
For me, it's a solid B. It's perfectly middle of the road, does exactly what it sets out to do, and doesn't really push or shove one way or the other.
My head is a B minus.
Okay, that's gonna upper middle B tier. Oh, wait a minute. It's time to play everybody's favorite game show. Name that fake song. I have here 5
boy.
clues for alternate universe versions of this track. Don't bother buzzing in. Call it out if you know it. A man refuses to ever leave his bubble bath. He's...
Addicted to suds.
A man is ecstatic that none of his landmines went off. He's...
Addicted to duds.
Beware these snazzy new wave vampires there.
Addicted to studs.
This lady has 30 dogs with squashed faces. She's...
Addicted to pugs.
The object of your desire is hunting for wascally wabbits. You're...
Addicted to
Addicted to
pugs.
fuds.
Not a butt face. Congratulations. You're the loser. You don't get to come back tomorrow. You don't even get a lousy copy of our home game.
You're a complete loser.
Oh.
Some freaks are burning crosses out on my front lawn, and I can't believe it. All the Cheetos are gone. It's just one of those days.
A bold move to have a lion complaining about tater tots for dinner at this point on the album, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I legit think of this song every time I'm having one of those days. And I have my whole life. What Al captures so perfectly in this song, I think, is how, like, when you're having a day like that, the minor irritants you'd usually shrug off feel directed and personal. And that's how you equate things like being out of Cheetos to, like, Nazis running over your mom with a steamroller. This has to twig Buttface's listicle.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't have it listed there as a listicle, but I probably should. Where are we hiding it?
I'm not sure it's quite a list. I mean, it is. There's lists of things, but it doesn't feel like Al is explaining those things. He's just rattling things
No.
off.
He's
But it is-
explaining why his
that-
day is bad.
Yeah,
Well-
no, this should be part of the recurring theme.
I wrote down in my notes, happy upbeat song about a miserable time. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that Al loves to do. He loves to take that dichotomy. He had it in earlier albums where the end of the world or we're all gonna die. And he manages to put a nice happy spin on it. And we're also continuing like is this a quadrilogy at this point where we have the jazz hands guy who eventually becomes the Waffle King? I mean, this is one of his bad days, right?
This isn't quite jazz. It's honky tonk piano, but we're not quite to like a jazzy show tune.
Yeah.
Also, that guy never complains about having a bad day. Did you not hear This Is the Life?
Yeah.
It's not the
No,
same
this
guy.
this is an incredibly relatable song. Like, it's surprisingly relatable. I don't know how each of your individual anxieties manifest on a day-to-day basis, but for me, I just tend to be numb to like the worst possible stuff happening. Like when things get so completely out of control that they're turbo smurfed, and like things can go horribly, horribly wrong, and it just registers completely as a minor inconvenience for me. It's like I've got a compressor on my anxieties, and then the most minor of things also spike up to that level of the world is about to end. Like, oh man, I just dropped my microwave on my glass top stove and it cracked and then fell on my foot. That's about as bad as being out of fish sticks. Whoops, I guess I'll have to fix both of those when I go downtown.
So would you say you're a Ned Flanders type?
Not quite, but it's like when things get so bad, you just kind of become numb to it. I think the song is approaching it from the opposite angle, as Brick was saying, which is someone who grumbles and complains about every little thing, like the world is ending. But I'm viewing this song more as No, the world is literally ending, and this guy is also still concerned about the small things like the Cheetos being gone.
Okay, so you're Wall-E playing Hello Dolly then.
Yes. Yes. That is a bad... Also, did you catch Weird Al predicting Indiana Jones 4?
Oh my God.
Oh, did he?
It's there.
It is there. You're right. Damn it.
It's not one of the stronger outings for an original song, but it is still a very strong song. Like, I'm giving it an A.
I wrote guitar solo is nice, and Sonny Burke is really doing some good piano work. It's hard to argue against the song, but it's not what you would, I think, what people were expecting from Al at the time. But fans, I think people who really like Weird Al would come into this and say, oh yeah, I really like this.
Dan, do you like this as an A?
I wrote a B.
Okay, so it's going to be a very high B then. A plus
Yeah,
A
because
plus
I've got
B.
it as an A.
I mean, if both of you guys are giving it A's and I'm giving it a B, that would I would say that would probably be a low A though, wouldn't it?
You want to put it in low A?
I like this part.
Did you know that this is Lin-Manuel Miranda's favorite Weird Al polka?
That's a shame.
I know,
would've guessed
right?
second favorite, honestly.
This polka is not as good as the other ones so far. There's still some solid material, but not as good. A few notes. Number one, putting Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins back to back. That's some shade, I think.
That's inspired.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
doing me good.
Yep. My other note was, this made me realize that Sledgehammer could very well have been a Final Fantasy boss theme. Because we all know that Uematsu was very much a fanboy of progressive rock acts, of which just the way Al arranged it earlier, I was like, oh yeah, that does sound kind of Final Fantasy, does it?
We should be fading in on like a tentacle monster or something.
Youch, seafood soup. I mean, there was a lot of good music in '86, I guess. I should not judge a polka for what I want it to be. I should judge it for what it is. And it is a good jam. It's just not as good as the other ones.
This is a polka with all the bells and whistles, quite literally, but this is still the third time around of just being a medley. Like, we haven't hit the reimagining of the polka medleys where we start getting to them being genre send-ups. And instead, this is just what was kind of lying around culturally at this time. The voice crack on What's Your Desire is just chef kiss, though. Like, it's a moment of inspired genius.
I'm biased because this was my first Weird Al polka medley, I should point out. And yeah, I can't disagree hard enough with you two. I think this is the best medley we've heard yet. So I feel like this is the song where Al like kind of galvanized his permanent polka style. I think it's very different from the previous two we listened to in that he found like a central voice delivery for the whole song and lets the music kind of go off to different styles. It's just that at this point in history in the mid 80s, like all music kind of sounded the same.
There are some good bits in this, though. Like, I wrote
No, the song choices are rad. Yeah.
Do the Harlem Polka now. Yeah, that was
really
nice, the
good.
yada yada. And of course I like this part. It's like, I too like this part.
That's also
It's a
my
good
favorite
part.
part of the song. If I was going to pick a song that I would prefer Al had done a full parody of, I would absolutely go with Amadeus.
My choice was Shout, because I don't think Al has really done Tears for Fears. And I would really like to see him do a take on Tears for Fears.
Going back to the Talking Heads discussion, I don't think there's a single song here that needs to be done as a parody. I think it would work better if he did like a pastiche of either Peter Gabriel. That would be a really great song, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
But what I want from this specifically is I don't think Weird Al ever did a pastiche of Phil Collins. And an incredibly long and drawn-out parody of In the Air Tonight writes itself.
Yes.
You're cheating with that answer, though, Buttface.
Am I, though?
Yeah, In the Air Tonight's not in this song.
No, but if he did a pastiche of Phil Collins, I think would be fantastic. I think there's a lot of comedy gold to be mined there, and it's not just because I love mocking Phil Collins.
I think a real parody of Susudio would still be pretty funny. You can make it about lawyers. Got Sue right in it.
It could be about suing somebody named Sue Studio.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, you know what? You've turned me around on it.
I want this in A tier, and I won't apologize for it.
Oh, this is an A- as far as I'm concerned. This is fine. This belongs in A. It's a good polka medley. It's just, this is the third good polka medley in a row.
Dan, are you pulling us down?
I mean, it'll still be an A tier, but I'm giving it B+.
You know I love him. He's jolly, he says, and second fiddle is his game.
So I got blown up last week off air when I brought up that Johnny Carson is kind of a non-celebrity for me.
Buttface,
A little bit of background on that.
will you accept my apology for yelling at you for not knowing who Johnny
Absolutely
Carson
not.
was?
I deserve to get yelled at for that. But there is some
I
background.
felt so bad.
I get it.
We ragged
I'm
on you a
young.
little hard. We're sorry.
But there's butt face history here. And part of the again, I brought it up in my intro of kind of came from a no fun household. We just never had cable TV, at all. It just was not a thing in our home. So sitting down to watch late night talk shows is a completely foreign experience to me. Oma and Papa's house, they got 5 channels out on the prairies. And most TV we watched was Wheel of Fortune leading into Jeopardy at dinner time on Sunday dinners, right? It's only been recently that I've been exposed to late night talk shows through clips of Craig Ferguson's run. Ed McMahon is no Jeff Peterson. Talk shows are just boomers who have React streams with flesh tubers instead of VTuber avatars. All right?
I'm not going to disagree with any part of what you just said.
He's not wrong.
So outside of all of that historical baggage, this song is a banger. I love how much it leans into the digital artifice of how it was created, more so than the original song. It's doing neat things with pitch shifting and looping, and just the loop, oh, ho, 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 in the end is psychotic. It feels like proto-Neil Cicierega stuff. I love it.
So if you guys could forgive me, I have a little bit of not so hastily made history and facts about this song, because as part of doing research for last week's podcast, I listened to a podcast, Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, where they had an interview with Pat Regan, who played the synthesizers and keyboards on this album and the previous 2 albums. And apparently what happened was that Peter Wolf, the guy who wrote the original song, Who's Johnny, as performed by El DeBarge, which is a great name for a band, by the way, for the movie Short Circuit, Peter Wolf, who is a very famous songwriter, producer, he's arranged stuff for Kenny Loggins. When you hear stuff on Top Gun, he worked on that. He did stuff for Heart. He did stuff for Starship. This guy is a mover and shaker. And when it turned out that they wanted to do this, Peter Wolf actually gave Pat Regan the stems from the original song, the original
really?
sequencer sounds, the separated tracks, so that Pat could listen to them and analyze them and learn how to play with them to make this song. That is why this song, A, sounds so much like the original, and B, plays around with the sound of the original so much. I mean, the original song is completely, forgettable 80s credit roll movie soundtrack, whatever. But I admit I'm a sucker for that kind of sound, and this one just pushes all my synthesizer buttons.
I had no idea before doing my listen this past week that this was even a song parody.
Have you ever watched Short Circuit?
I'm going to out myself as a bad 80s kid. I couldn't swear that I've ever seen Short Circuit.
Oh, we should
I've seen
rectify
Short
that.
Circuit too.
Okay.
So yeah, I listened to Who's Johnny, the original, for the first time ever in my life this past week. And so if Al had released this song first as his own original, and then they did a song parody of Al's song, I think it would have worked exactly the same.
Yes,
The
this
two
is a wholly
songs-
original song.
They're just goofy and funny, and they have weird sounds. And yeah, I'm down with it. I would have this as a low A, but the perfectly timed "Hey-o" that moves it up in the A tier for me.
Is he doing a shock jockey bit? It feels like they've got a soundboard for doing a shock jockey bit, but I'm not familiar enough with The Tonight Show to know if that is part of an
The
authentic...
Ed McMahon impression for this song was provided by a comedy actor named John Rourke. None of us know who he is. His probably most famous bit was being an impressionist on ABC's attempt to compete with Saturday Night Live. And guys, would you believe that they called that show Fridays?
Yes. It was
He was
a
their
fantastic failure, as I recall.
Yes, an absolute bomb for ABC, just complete and utter failure. He was one of their impressionists. He was their Ronald Reagan. Despite the show failing, Rourke actually had some, people praising his chops for his impressions, and he's done a lot of stuff. He actually showed up on the Weird Al show in the 90s. And I think his Ed McMahon is pretty good, but if I was Pat using my Roland sampler, I would absolutely just be taking whatever clips I got from him and just going, here's Johnny. Hey, oh, just, hey,
That would have been too much of a thing. I think
they did it just right. They got just enough.
they got it just enough.
Yep.
Where do you like this song on the chart?
I had it in A tier.
Definitely A for me, yeah.
See, I had it as a high B, but like every time I listen to it, I'm just keep bumping it up a little bit and a little bit. So I've got it as a low A.
All right.
Triple A.
But I'm begging you down on my bended knees. Oh, honey, please don't wear those shoes. You can spit in my face if you're so inclined. Baby, I don't mind, but please don't wear those shoes. Oh, no.
I hated this song as a kid, and we always skipped it on this album. The same kid who told me what a hernia was didn't understand what this song was about. He thought the man singing had a pair of shoes that he really liked, and his girlfriend kept stealing them from him, and he was mad at her. And he told me that's what the song was about, and furthermore, he knew what kind of shoes they were. And I don't remember now what kind of shoes he said they were, but they were stupid shoes. They were like bad, ugly shoes. So the song was stupid and he hated it. And I was younger than him, so that means I hated it too. That's not what the song is about. It's about a man who's like, his wife is wearing ugly shoes. And he's like, do anything except wear those shoes.
I really want to know what kind of shoes they are.
I gotta ask, do we consider this a listicle? This is a list of everything that he'd rather have than her wear those shoes.
Perhaps. I don't know if it's a comprehensive list.
Is it a bad partner song? I don't feel like this guy's a bad partner.
She's a bad partner.
Is she a bad partner?
Is he worried that, like, okay, I know if you wear stiletto heels and we go out, you're going to trip and fall and hurt yourself, and I don't want to go to the ER again tonight. I'm just looking out for you, babe. Or is he like, you can't leave the house in sneakers because I'm a controlling... It can go either way, I guess.
Food for thought.
Another question, another quandary. Is Al beating Meatloaf to the punch before I Will Do Anything for Love? Because I'm going to say yes.
You got a little of that
unequivocally.
flavor from this song?
Yeah. Lastly, a request from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to need someone like Mod or Dadif maybe to do an artist rendition of just how hideous these shoes are. That they are not to be worn. I think that this song is touching on eldritch horror. That the shoes are never actually described. It's just all the things that are preferable to them being worn. And your mind begins to conjure image of just these primordially evil...
I have no souls and I
coverings.
must walk.
Yes.
We do have some clues, though. They can't be like stiletto heels. They can't be like cleats. Because if she was stomping the poodle till it's flat, it wouldn't be flat. It would be perforated.
It would be burger mush.
Right.
You're right.
So we have some clues as to what kind of shoes
Maybe
they
they're
are.
clogs.
I feel like Al would be pro clog.
Yeah. I mean, Al may be, the character in the song may not be. We don't know.
What a fun, stupid song this is.
My first note I got when listening to the song was overproduced Father Christmas by the Kinks. And then I went and did some research and found out that, yes, Al admitted that this does have a Kinks sound and he is on the record about it. So now every time you listen to this, you're going to think, Father Christmas, give us your money, because that's what it is. It's the deedle from that's.
I'm never going to think that. I've never heard that song.
You've never, this child.
I also have never heard that song.
Well, we're going to play it.
Vindication!
We're going to play it in Discord afterwards.
Dan's going to tie me down, make me listen to the Kinks and watch Short Circuit.
You all have homework to do. Although, on the other hand, I think the best thing about this song is that, except for a very few minor things like what you're trying to intimate, is that the best part of it is that they don't say exactly what is wrong with these shoes. You have to use your imagination to figure it out, to say, I don't know what could be wrong with these shoes. And that's actually funnier than just saying what is wrong with these shoes.
You know what? Come to think of it, he also never plays the ringtone for us, does he?
Nope.
No.
We don't know how bad that ringtone is. Al's a smart man. He knows.
It's the noodle incident principle.
I want to put shoes in A tier. I love it.
I've got it in A.
Is it too overproduced for you, Dan?
No, this is one of those songs where for me, it's like, it's fine. It's okay. I'm not like headbanging to the song.
The lyrics of this song elevate it over the melody.
They are A tier lyrics. It's a B.
Well, it have to be a tall B then.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too about this song is, oh, this is everything you know is wrong, except 10 years earlier.
A little bit.
It has the same vibe.
No, those are totally
The lyrics are
different
very
vibes.
different, but the actual, like, the vibe of the song, the way, because that also has a very Kinks-like sound to it.
Yeah, but to me, Everything You Know Is Wrong is squarely a They Might Be Giants song, and this is not. It just doesn't feel like a They Might Be Giants song.
This existed before They Might Be Giants were even a thing, so
They weren't giants
Right.
yet. They were just regular sized people.
yeah.
Well, they might be Giants.
Stand up, take out your teeth, Toothless People.
I ask of you this. Did we really need 2 gross out body part songs in one album?
Yes.
No.
I know I was kind of
no,
ragging.
Hold on. What's gross about having a hernia? That's not his fault.
He might not have been practicing proper lifting. You don't know.
You don't know. But I was ragging earlier on living with a hernia. And, you know, in retrospect, in comparison to this song, maybe that's why this is on this album, to say, oh, yeah, well, if you think hernias are gross, wait till you hear this and make you retroactively think that song is better, because that's kind of working on me.
It's a really grimy song, isn't it? You can hear in Al's voice like he hasn't showered recently.
Ugh.
I do not like this song. It is too 80s and in the bad way.
Well, it's like the original song was like not good. So the story behind this song was that Al was trying to play the Al Go rhythms back in the day because, like, oh, Mick Jagger, he's going to have this song called Ruthless. This is going to be a huge hit. He wanted to be on top of it. But turns out by the time Al got to recording the song, he had written it, done everything. Ruthless People had just kind of fallen away from the public consciousness. Everybody's forgotten about it. But the thing was is that Al went through the whole rigmarole to talk to Mick Jagger and get the approval and everything. And he said, well, it would be rude not to do it after doing all that. The problem is, Al, is that is called the sunk cost fallacy. I mean,
Yeah.
Mick Jagger has enough prestige and money and whatever. He doesn't need it. There's other artists that you could have parodied.
If part of a song parodies like quality, like part of what you're going to evaluate it on is tied to the life of the original song, because like Living in America, timeless anthem, and like even Addicted to Love is like
Yeah.
a gem from the 80s, right? Nobody's listened to Ruthless People except us in the past 20 years.
Yeah.
The song itself is just overly synthetic. It's overproduced. Al is doing this like grating, exaggerated growl of disdain. And like, I also, you know what? Lyrically, I don't like the target of the song. It's just people who need to wear dentures. Actually, it's in the quote. It's the old and feeble. I feel like it's mocking for no good reason, as opposed to, I don't know, a celebration of obscure bodily issues that might be even more extreme physical conditions. Al might do that later. This song, however, it's not a merry melody.
It's really not. I would have to say it's only Al's second best song about dentistry.
I think you bring up a good point, Buttface, in that if we can contrast this to Living with a Hernia on this very same album. That album isn't mocking hernias. Hernias sound silly, but they're actually a very serious medical condition. And perhaps Al did raise awareness of hernias through that first song. People might not be aware of just how bad that is. And that song is funny. It manages to make that funny. I don't think there's anything funny about this.
It's kind of a gross song.
I had it in
Yeah.
D tier.
Yeah, I also have it in D tier.
I had it as a low C.
Yeah, it's a D.
D for dentistry.
D for dental decay.
You're the woman that I've always dreamed of. Well, not really, but you're good enough for now.
So this is Al trying his hand at Hank Williams, Jr. or Senior, take your pick. It's this very generic Nashville sound. I mean, I really do think that country is a genre that Al could have some real success with. There's a lot of things to parody and enjoy, making fun from what we can get from country music. But this ain't it. There's lots that you can go and riff on, just all the cliches and everything that you get out of it. But we've mentioned before that the best parodies come from a place of love and knowledge. And I couldn't find anything to prove this, but this really feels like a label mandate. Like they really wanted to say, Al, we want to see if we can get people who like country music to buy your records. And I mean, I don't know his opinion on country music or how much he likes it. I mean, I think there is definitely a connection between polkas and that kind of material versus country music. Like they kind of come from the same place. Like you can look at a polka and a square dance and say, yeah, I can see how those two things can go
We
together.
do have some evidence in that direction because in a catalog of close to 200 songs, there are 3 country songs.
See, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'm thinking
Yeah, I couldn't name a
this
single
Achy
one.
Breaky song and Truck Driving song. Is there a 4th?
I haven't listened to Truck Driving Song in forever.
That's like 7 albums from now.
Yeah.
So, do we consider this to be a bad partner song? Because, let's be honest, setting realistic expectations is a key to a healthy and happy relationship.
This is the guy from Close But No Cigar before he got red pilled.
Yep, you know what? Solid on that one.
I mean, there's something to be said about a man who's being sincere about his expectations from a relationship. It could be argued that that's better than being dishonest. Like, he's not gaslighting her, so
It's true, but it does feel backhanded, doesn't it?
I think all country songs sound backhanded, Dan.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
From my perspective, I am someone who grew up on the prairies and then moved as far away as possible while still being in the same country. I'm allergic to steel slide guitar. Like it
Well, it's a good thing that
hurdles
this isn't an
my
actual
insides.
steel guitar. It's a fake
I
one.
was so surprised when you said that. That blew my mind. But personally, I will skip this song every time it's on the album. I think it is a C- or a D tier song. But objectively, this sounds like every single country song I've ever heard, and lyrically, the premise of lampooning the schmaltzy country love song is brilliantly done here.
The problem with that is it's indistinguishable from reality because this bit of country music is so far beyond parody at this point.
Exactly. It's a parody that then becomes like indistinguishable from what it is parodying, and I think that that is a mark of a truly great parody. I don't like this song. I will never sit down and listen to this song another day in my life, but I think that it is such a solidly constructed song. It's probably like an A just from a technical standpoint.
I also don't like the song, but I think it's just because I just really don't like country music.
Again, we're trying to leave our personal biases at the door, and
I'm not.
I'm trying to come at these musically. This sounds like every other country song, right? Which is what we've been grading as being a good style parody, is when it sounds indistinguishable from the original. And lyrically, it is doing something clever with the material. I've not really heard another song hit this just kind of, as Brick had said, backhandedly saying where you are in the relationship. I think it's really clever.
That's fair.
I just don't ever want
Yeah.
to listen to it. It's my personal taste is in opposition to just the sheer mechanical precision by which this song is crafted.
You'll like the grade I gave it, which is C for competent.
So you're really putting this in an A, Buttface?
I cannot objectively grade this art lower than an A.
Can we at least put this like at a high C then? Because I think if I drop this song in B tier,
This
I'm gonna have
is not
an
a B tier
aneurysm.
song. High C.
I will never listen to this song again in my life. I skip this every time.
Okay.
Game recognizes game.
From a constructed standpoint.
I think it's fair to say that if you're going to be an American parodist and you're going to have a catalog of pastiching American music, you have to tackle country at some point.
Absolutely.
And Al, in his modern incarnation, is known as being kind of a master of all genres. And you kind of have to be Al Yankovic. So he do country good, but me no likey country.
Everywhere the atom bombs are dropping, it's the end of all humanity. No more time for last minute shopping. It's time to face your final destiny.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm the guy who loves Christmas music so much that every diner, department store, and radio station starts spamming their Christmas set list starting November 1st. I can't get enough of it that time of year. It's my fault. I'll take the full blame. That said, top 3 Christmas songs of all time. Number 1, Santa Claus is a Black Man by Teddy Van and Akim. Number 2, James Urbaniak's I Want a Job for Christmas. Number 3, Christmas at Ground Zero by Weird Al Yankovic. I love that the air raid siren is an instrument for like the whole song.
Yes, I wrote air raid sirens add a haunting audio texture.
My note is the air raid sirens are probably the best touch.
What a crazy fluke. We're gonna get nuked. We can just put that on like the big pile of goat lines, right?
I put
that we're
dodge debris while we trim the tree.
It's such a fantastic song. The lyricism is great. He got like the jingle bells in there. It sounds kind of like 80 different Christmas songs recorded in the like 50s or 60s kind of jingle bell rock era.
That baritone sax and the glockenspiel. That's where it is.
So just for the people who didn't actually go and listen to the song, which they should, the joke of this song is that you take this saccharine holiday of a song for Christmas, usually a time of great joy and celebration where loved ones gather together in appreciation and good times, and then you use that as background dressing, as a juxtaposition for a great tragedy of impending turmoil and crisis. What I'm saying here is this song is basically Die Hard, Brick.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the like the little YouTube timeline, and we're like at what 40 something minutes in this video. I don't have 3 hours to correct you. Buttface, I'm going to take this as a personal insult if you don't join me in S tier on Christmas at Ground Zero.
So before we even unmuted, I put you as S with like 7 pluses next to it.
Like,
and I have mine as an S tier. This is an S tier song.
I want to be on record, S tier flanked by Christmas tree emojis.
I am a bah humbug. I do not like Christmas at all.
I'm so sorry. It's my fault.
This song absolutely just nails me in my pitch black dark comedy heart. I love this. This is the realization of what we saw brewing with Happy Birthday.
I didn't think about that, but yeah, the song works both if you love Christmas music like me, or if you abjectly don't love Christmas music. I could see how this song would work for you there too, because Al is a genius.
So I have some facts about this song.
Great.
The Scotti brothers wanted him to make a Christmas record. They're like, Al, you know what'll sell records? Christmas music. Listening to this song, I have a feeling that this is Al's maturation from the previous record where we had Girls Just Want to Have Lunch. Because one could take that executive mandate to say, Al, we must have a Christmas song on this record. It's coming in October. It'll be timed perfectly for Christmas. We want a Christmas song. And a lesser artist, perhaps one who is a year younger, might take that and say, Christmas? I don't want to do a song about Christmas. But no, he says, wait a minute, Christmas? That gives me an idea. And insert that picture of Calvin and his face turning into the Grinch face. That is Al saying, they want a Christmas song, do they? Well, I will give this a Christmas song they will never forget. And people definitely didn't forget this song because it wound up getting banned on a lot of radio stations.
Nice.
Yeah, because this is a song where the Dr. Demento crowd would go bonkers over the song. They would love this song. I have a feeling regular people this is 1986. We have, yet to have the wall come down. We're still in the waning days, but still in the middle of the Cold War. You can imagine a certain group of people might not particularly like it very much. Those people's opinions
especially if you
wrong.
like sneak it in after Bing Crosby or something.
Yes, exactly. And I will say those people's opinions are wrong. This song rules. This is an S tier song full of jingle bells and cookies and hot chocolate. It's a perfect parody of a Christmas song. I can't say anything bad about it. I love it. I love every single thing about this song.
Do we like Nuke Our Hot Butts for Christmas more than Canine Cannibalism?
I will listen to a Talking Heads song over listening to a Christmas song any month out of the year other than December.
I believe that Talking Heads has to be above this.
I disagree, but fair enough.
2 out of 3.
Look, I put your little Christmas tree emojis in the spreadsheet, so at least you have that concession.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Do we want to move on to our album overall thoughts?
Well, I want to point out, before you guys rank the album, we came into this. Remember last week you guys were like, Polka Party's bad. Herp de derp. We've got 2 S tiers. Everything else lives in A and B. This album rocks, and you know it.
I have a follow-up for that. I understand why this album flopped commercially. In terms of mainstream radio appeal, there is no A or S tier parody that could catch the cultural wave. There's a lot of really well-produced material that I think Weird Al fans absolutely love. Like we all 3 of us here, Weird Al fans, we all have our favorites on this album, but I think, the controversy around Christmas at Ground Zero didn't help. My vibe is that this doesn't come together as an album. This is potpourri in album form. My subtitle for this was Diminishing Returns, the album. While that may not be true for us as Weird Al fans,
I think it suffers from being a shorter album.
It's only like half an hour long.
We've only got 11 songs, and one of them is a incredibly specific holiday song. And the second is there's only 2 singles and 2 videos to go with it. It didn't really have a big marketing push, which I think also probably affected its positional standing in the billboards.
I do wish Addicted to Spuds had a video, because that's such a creepy video. I would love to see what Al does with it.
I would have much preferred Dog Eat Dog as a video. Like, you could go ham in an office.
Also a very creepy video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading some comments from Al about this album where he was riding on a meteoric high with In 3D and Dare to Be Stupid, and this album kind of landed with a thud, and you have to think, is my career over? Was it just a fluke or everything else? He goes through imposter syndrome just like everybody else. So what do you give it, Buttface?
Looking over my list here, I've got mostly A's and a couple of S's, which I was not expecting. And I think honestly what was dragging it down for me was Toothless People back to back with Good Enough for Now. 2 songs that I just don't want to listen to.
Good Enough for Now was also placed in A tier by you, I will point out.
I know, I just don't want to listen to them.
I feel like maybe Buttface doesn't know what A tier means.
You know what, if I did? If I just took out Toothless People and Good Enough for Now and just slotted in one play of Nature Trail to Hell, this is an A tier album.
With the magic of YouTube playlists, you can now do that.
That's true.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, what grade do you give it?
No, I'm giving it an A tier. I think this is an A tier album. Honestly.
I will eat a little bit of crow and say that my reaction to this album was based majority on not having really sat down to listen through it critically in many, many years and remembering saying, well, Living with a Hernia isn't really one of my favorites, and not really remembering the other songs very well. They didn't stick with me very much. And you don't really find stuff on this album on greatest hits material. But I think back and say, you know what? I bet there was some kid out there who got this as their first Weird Al album, and they listened to it, and they listened to Here's Johnny, and it just drove them absolutely crazy. It was their absolute favorite song of all time that they had to listen over and over to again. And I can't take that away from that kid. So I think I begrudgingly have to put this album. I'm trying to talk myself out of A tier. I don't think I can do it.
When I was reading the comments, I was reading through old fan discussions and things on Reddit, and because Polka Party is often brought up as one of the 2 worst Weird Al albums, and every time I read somebody's critique of Polka Party, I'm like, this is somebody who hasn't listened to the album in a while.
Yeah.
This is somebody who's forgotten the bangers.
Yeah.
As we do at the end of an album, we want to throw in one of the, well, in this case, literally a medium rarity that Al has put out. And I thought it was appropriate this time to bookend Polka Party started off Living with a Hernia with Al's other science lesson song, the Brain Song.
While you peel away that meninges layer, wipe off that cerebrospinal fluid, and you're looking right at the 4 lobes of the brain. You know the ones I'm talking about. Say it with me now.
This is what 25 years of development brings you. Al absolutely nails this. So This was on his album that was released, I'm not entirely sure when, Medium Rarities. Do you have the date on that, Brick?
2017, he put out his collection called The Squeeze Box, which has all 14 studio albums plus Medium Rarities, which is a collection of just a bunch of stuff that he didn't put on anything else.
And specifically, this song, I don't know if it was commissioned or if it was something that Al had cooking in the back of his brain for a little while for the Orange County Fair, and was also exhibited at the Washington State Fair as part of an exhibit called Al's Brain.
A 3D journey through the human brain.
This was what I can only imagine was the capstone to a 10-minute short film that, as far as I can tell, according to different internet forums, is the whole 10-minute film is lost media. We just don't have it anymore. It had guest stars from Tim and Eric, Tom Lennon, Patton Oswalt, and Paul McCartney, according to sources. Citation needed. And this song was the touchstone for it. It is a fantastic song. I love it. I do love me a good edutainment. Oh boy.
I also kind of fell in love with it. I hadn't heard it before.
It's hitting a lot of styles all at once. It's pretty jazzy, gets a little funky.
So I was listening to this and I'm like, yes, you can tell this is a modern Al production. Like you can hear the sound that he is refined. Like this is post Alapalooza sound refined into just the purest form. This song came out in 2009. This is when the word nerdcore started being a thing. And I'm thinking to myself, this is Al trying to be both They Might Be Giants and Jonathan Colton at the same time.
This could have very easily been a Joko song.
He probably deserves a royalty check or two from this one.
It's weird that Weird Al never did like a parody alongside of Bill Nye, you know? That seems like a natural conclusion.
Yeah, right?
Here's a fun fact about my brain. The phrase funky, funky neuron now lives there rent-free.
You charge rent for things living in your brain?
Only the bad stuff. Like I try to evict some stuff, but funky, funky neuron can hang out. So this is not a one joke song, because it's not a joke song at all. It's educational.
It's edutainment.
But it's like a one lesson song, I guess. The problem's too strong a word. The stanank that comes up sometimes on these medium rarities songs are that these are songs often commissioned for something else. They're not just music for music's sake. And do the songs still work when divorced from that original setting? This song is really fun to listen to, and I'm glad I found a bootleg video of the 3D show you would have seen, but I don't think the song does really work outside of it being that short film. Like there's a line he's singing about why you're looking at my disembodied head. Like I wasn't thinking about your head being disembodied, Al, because I wasn't actually watching. So because this song and some of the other medium rarities that we'll get to later are so connected to that original intended setting, I can't put it in S tier.
I don't think I would have ever put this song in S tier to begin with. It's a little short. It's a little one note. We didn't put Mr. Frumpf in S tier for being one note, and I think that this belongs solidly A.
Mr. Frumpf was the song I was thinking of comparatively. It's a great song, but it's got one thing and it does the one thing and then it's over.
I don't know. I was giving this B for brain.
Okay.
That's 2 A's and a B. We want to put this... I don't feel comfortable letting this live in B with Addicted to Spuds.
We put it right under Polka Party.
You know, it's kind of got that Polka Party energy too. Like it's got a little bit of polka in there, but instead of being polka instrumentation, it's more brass.
The lowest A from this album, I think. Well, it's not on this album. What am I talking about? I'm going to cut that part out.
The only other thing I want to point out is that apparently there was a promotional website for this attraction. And you can be the owner of owlsbrain.com for just a little over $3,000. So get on that, listeners.
The human brain is the only thing in the universe that can write a song about itself.
Okay, well, that's it. Thanks for coming. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
I feel like if I knew the world was about to end, I would be slightly reassured if I still had Cheetos in the house.
Look, I'm more of a Pringle man, but I'd probably just end up getting my hand caught in the tube at this point.